Well, hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, a glass block accent lamp. Say that 10 times fast. Well, I had one of the viewers contact me because he said that his wife was getting into these. And this is a glass block. And apparently the trend here is to put things on the front faces of them or inside them and decorate them. And so this viewer asked me if I could advise him on how to make a stand for one of these. And I got to thinking about it and I thought, what a great show idea. So that is what we're going to start off with. We're going to start off with making a base for this and turning it into an accent lamp, and it all starts by milling some 1/2-inch thick walnut. We have our walnut planed to 1/2 inch thick, and this is our block. Our block measures 7.5 inches all the way around. And what I want to do is I want to make a stand for it here on the bottom, and then a cap on the top, and then this will be kind of a decorative accent area. So I think the first thing that I want to do is, out of that walnut, I want to rip some pieces that are going to be 3 inches in width. Well, the next thing that I want to do is I want to, just using simple 45-degree joinery, I want to build a box that this block will slide perfectly down inside of. And then once we get that cut up and that sort of thing, I'll come back and I'll see you and I'll show you where we're going to go from there. So I've just got this dry fit together in our shop-made frame clamp, and we'll just test to make sure that the block does in fact fit inside, and it does. There's quite a bit of play here, but I'm okay with that because I really want the extra room down in the bottom here, and we'll get to that a little later. But for now, we can glue this together and then put it aside to dry, and then we'll turn our attention to the cap of our light. Well, the first thing that we want to do in order to make our cap for our light is to rip some 1.5-inch wide stock from our 1/2-inch thick walnut. And in the same fashion that we did with the base of our accent lamp, we will make our cap for this in the exact same fashion, cutting all of the corners at 45 degrees so that it slides over the block. With our pieces cut for our cap, you can see that we essentially have the exact same thing as the base, just on a shorter scale. So we're now going to take this over, and 1/4 of an inch down from the top edge here, we're going to run a 1/4 inch dado all the way around, 1/4 inch deep dado, sorry, that will be 1/8 of an inch in thickness. Well, with that dado all the way around, you may be wondering what that's for, and what that is for this 1/8 inch thick piece of maple, which I'm going to use as the lid or the roof of our cap. So we'll just get rid of this rubber band that seems to want to be in my way here. So give all your pieces a good sanding, and then you can glue this assembly together. Now, you don't need to glue in the maple. The maple can just stay free floating as it is, and that will be it. But we'll glue together the walnut. Well, inside the lid, attached to this piece of maple, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some of this stainless steel strip to place up inside. The purpose for that is I want the lights that are going to be mounted in the base to reflect off of our cap. So for now, I'm just gonna cut some pieces. They don't have to be a perfect fit, but try to get it as close as you can. And now we're just gonna tack it in place with a little bit of hot glue. Well, with our reflector in the top and the glue is dry on our cap, we can remove these clamps. But the problem is that when we sit this on the block, I think it goes too far down over the top of our block. So what I want to do is I want to measure from this edge here right to where the glass kind of goes hollow inside of our block. So right there, I want to measure there, and we'll just see how much that is. That is 1/2 inch. So what I want to do now is measure the distance between our bottom edge here and our top of our reflective surface of the stainless steel. I want to subtract 1/2 inch, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some thin 1/4 inch strips of walnut, and I'm going to glue them in all the way around the upper edge so that there's a lip now for this to stop from sliding any further down the glass block. So we'll just get a little good bit of glue on our strips there. And we'll just put them in place. We'll add some clamps and then we'll clean up our squeeze out rather. We're going to do this all the way around. You may be thinking you don't need to, but it's going to serve a double purpose. Not only will it allow the block to not go any further up into our cap, but it'll also hide our rough edges of our reflective stainless steel. Well, it's now time to unclamp our base. And just as we did with our cap, we need to put a stop inside here to stop our block from going all the way to the bottom. We already took a measurement of the lip of our glass block and determined it was 1/2 inch. So all we're going to do is, just like we did with the cap, 1/2 inch down from the top, we're going to install 1/4 inch thick blocks or strips all the way around to support our glass block. And now to finish off our top and bottom of our accent lamp, all that's left to do is we'll use a 1/8 round over and round off all of the corners and give this thing a thorough sanding, both on the cap and on the base. Well, the last little thing that I've done here to the base is I've glued a couple of 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch strips just on the short ends of our base, and I've glued them so that they're 3/8 of an inch above the bottom of our base. And what that's going to be for is that will support our shop-made light board, and as well it's going to give some room underneath for some of the wiring and that sort of thing. So for now we can let this dry up and then we can carry on from there. Well, for all of our efforts, what do we have at this point in time? And what we have is this. I think it's looking great, but it is not exactly a lamp at this point in time because there's no light, and that's what we're going to take care of next. Well, now that our base is pretty much completed and our cap is as well, we need our light source in order to make it a lamp. Without a light source, it's just a glass block. So I went on Amazon and I found this Govee colored LED set, and it was like $27. Not too bad. I think it comes with like 14 or 15 feet of LED lights as well on a roll with switches and that sort of thing. It also comes with a remote and a power source. So this will be our light source for our lamp. The problem is this is one long length. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to divide it in the spots provided here on the LED strips. And when I do that, I'm going to solder some leads so that I could mount a bunch of these strips in series all the way along on a piece of MDF to mount into the bottom of our assembly. And there essentially is our LED lighting board. I will from here just wire each one of these together, and I guess from there I'll see you when I get that done. Well, I have all the soldering done and we can see that everything works just fine. The color change works just fine. What I need to do now though is I don't really like the way that this cord here is on top. The wiring will be underneath the light assembly, so I'm just going to cut a little notch here to secure this so that this cable will run underneath. And I'm just going to do that over at the scroll saw. So while I was at it, I'm noticing that this connector here is liking to flip up and down. This came like this from the factory, so I also drilled a couple of 3/16 of an inch diameter holes, one here and one here, just so that I can get a small cable tie there and hold it down in place, as well as clean it up down here on the underside. So I'm going to put this aside from now. And I've decided that I want to do something else to both the cap and the base. And for that, we're going to head over to the table saw. Well, the next thing that I want to do is I want to add some splines to the corner joints here. And that will accomplish two things. Number one, I'm going to use contrasting wood for the splines, so to give it a really cool design element. But as well, and I think more importantly, it's going to strengthen up these miter joints so that they're not going to pop apart over time. So we'll just get them cut, and then we'll glue in some 1/4 inch splines into the grooves that we're about to cut using our spline cutting jig. And with all of the splines glued up, we'll just let them dry. And once they're completely dry, we'll trim them and give the entire thing another sanding. Well, those splines are all done and sanded, and they look absolutely spectacular. I just love the look of a light colored spline on a dark colored wood. It's now time to install our light board, I guess we'll call it. But for this particular application, our unit has this little thing here, which happens to be an infrared sensor for the remote control. And then we have this little thing here, which is our power supply. So what I want to do is I'm going to measure the diameter of the outer jacket of our infrared, and in the center of our front panel we're going to drill a hole coinciding with that measurement, and we're going to glue this into place. We're also going to do the same thing on the back side, but for that we're going to have it the diameter of our power cable, and that way this will just barely stick out and our adapter can plug in, and it makes it look just that much more professional. So I'm going to get those holes drilled, and then I'll come back and I'll see you. Well, now it's time to assemble this thing, and all you need to do is you need to take your circuit board that you wired up. We're going to place it up inside here, and we have those two supports that are going to take care of holding that. Now, once I get this, have the finish all applied on here, I'm probably going to either glue this in place, but I think as a temporary measure, in case I ever have to work on the soldering, I'm just going to run a bead of hot glue there just to seal it in place. But this manual controller here, this will get placed on the bottom here using the provided 3M tape. But what we're going to do is on the front face, that is where our sensor will go. And on the back face, that is where our power supply will go. This, of course, will be in the final installation a lot neater than what I'm doing it here. I'm only just showing you. Let's take that out and put, there we go, that's better. So just like that, and then we'll have our circuit board in place. You can see in the front, here we have our sensor for our remote control, and then on the back we will have our power supply glued into place as well. And once you have all of that all in place and done, well, you can assemble the rest of the light. So all we do is place our glass block right there onto the little shelf that we made inside. It sits there quite nicely, and then our dusty lid will go on top of our block. And due to the fact that we have our infrared sensor into the front, we can use the remote that came with it and turn it on. Now I know you can't really appreciate it at the moment because it's quite bright in here with the filming lights, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a finish to this, and once I get the finish applied and I get everything all glued in place, being the controls and the wiring underneath, I'm going to come back and see you with the lights dimmed, and we're going to show you what this thing is really capable of. And there you have it. A glass block accent lamp. Guys, this all started because I had someone contact me and ask me if I could show them or explain to them how to make a base for this. And of course, it morphed, as it usually does in my shop. It starts off with an idea that's this big, and before I know it, it's this big. And I've got something kind of cool like this, where you have a remote control LED light for your rec room or wherever you want. Now, I'm not quite done with this piece yet. This is not the end of this project. There is a little more that I want to do it, but that's a different show. But for now, this is the way that it is. Guys, you can do whatever you want with this glass block. If you want to end it at this, then you can end it at this. This is no big deal. This block is one of the ones that the bottom comes out. It has a plug, and you can very easily fill it up with whatever you want, and then the light can accent what is inside. What that is up to you. Could be 1,000 marbles for all I know. I have no idea, but use your imagination. Guys, the whole point of this project is to have a bit of fun. I saw something that I wanted to do, and it came from a question from you. And a lot of the ideas on my show come from viewer suggestions. So if there's something that you want to see on the show, please don't be afraid to jump in and say, hey, Kenny, how about a show on this? Whether you make it in the comments below, whether you send it as a message to the channel's Facebook page, whatever you'd like to do, just get a hold of me and tell me what you'd like to see. Guys, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe and click that bell so that you don't miss the notifications of future episodes of the show. This has been a ton of fun. I've really enjoyed this one. It took a lot longer than what I thought it was going to, but then again, all the soldering and that sort of thing, it takes time, guys, and we're not in a rush. The bottom line here is that I hope you've enjoyed the project. I hope you're going to try it for yourself, and more importantly, I hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another woodworking video.